So with our handsome Mr. F, we're going to warm up with a little bit of reorientation to me. So nice job. So I'm capturing all these lovely moments where he is by my leg and working a bit with this loose leash walking, even though he's not on equipment. So nice job bringing some goodies with him today too. A lot of the training treats that you brought, he really does like, which is awesome. So it's perfectly fine to, again, have a trail mix, which is great for them. But I would recommend that if certain things are harder for them, definitely make sure that the quality of the food, in the sense of like stinky factor or foods that he finds delectable, are definitely the ones that we would practice when things get a little bit more challenging or you're trying to add value to that skill or behavior. So today he's doing a really nice job re-honing in back on me, and we're going to continue practicing a little bit with this lovely loose leash walk-in. So even though right now we don't have the gear on, nice, I am capturing all these lovely moments where Mr. F is right up against my leg. If I lose him, oh my goodness, chewing, just like the rest of the boys and girls in class, is if, let's say, for example, you start to lose him, you could do the positive interrupter. Remember too, I know that you mentioned the jumping up on you guys is something that you really wanted to work on. Remember how I did go into a little bit where obviously feelings are going to affect training as well as behavior. So with Mr. F, if he's feeling a bit overwhelmed, what I find does end up happening is that jumping behavior gets even more exaggerated. So when he is a little bit apprehensive, and he was sort of running around a little bit earlier with, again, doing some find it, so he's panting a little bit. But I will have to say he is a little bit of an anxious guy. So not saying you have to, but remember, if the world is always like a level 5 and above for difficulty when it comes to your comfort range, I'm not saying that you have to do medication, but we may find that there are some helpful calming supplements that can be paired while working on some new skills. This doesn't mean, chewing still, this doesn't mean that all on their own, the supplements or even the medication would resolve behavioral trouble or anxiety, because we'd still want to create coping mechanisms that are healthier than the behaviors he was offering in the first place. So if, let's say, he's been struggling with loose leash walking, but it's actually because his comfort range in the places or the environments we're practicing in are so past his comfort range that he's then rehearsing sort of responses to anxiety or frustration, then those would be situations where we'd want to do it in a softer bubble where the new skill can be acquired without having to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or stressed, you know? So if, let's say, for example, you're unsure about some of these options, definitely check in with me, but I would recommend there is a brand called Composure that some of the dogs have done really well with, that have also dealt with some anxiety. There's also, for example, there's Adaptil, which is another brand. Ready? Finley. Yes. So right there, he noticed my little one, and there's another pup off in the X pen off on the other side. So Mr. F is doing, oh my goodness, a very good job bouncing back and forth between the environment, the distractions, and coming back to his little bubble here. But again, if our comfort range isn't there, our ability to learn isn't there either. So just like with us, if we were feeling really anxious, having a panic attack, and someone says, I would really like you to learn Spanish, and you don't know how to speak it, that's going to be a really stressful setup, and you probably won't retain much or if any of that lecture or information. Ready? So I'm just going to warm up with a couple find its, and then do a little bit with Finley. Yes. He's like, hold on, lady. I swear there's another crumb I missed. Good job, sir. So right here, nice little bounce back from the environment into my space. So as you're practicing with the handsome guy, I know that a lot of times certain skills feel very important, like the not jumping, but a lot of times too, that can get worked on also through management. So if you know that someone's coming over and it's a stressful setup for him and for you guys, set him up behind a baby gate, give him some enrichment shoes or puzzles or things he can work on. So that way, as the company comes in, he has something to target other than them. The benefit of sometimes doing a skill that's non-conducive to doing two things at once is that when your babe doesn't have the foundation behavior yet, he can do the simpler version. So doing find its in the other room with maybe a friend or a family member or even with yourself, have your friend come in, and then as they're kind of getting comfortable in a certain bubble, he can then make his way in and out, but maybe on gear. So that way, using your leash, ready, find it, could be another great way for Mr. F to do a softer version of what he would originally have done. So right here, as he's coming into my space, I feed him for either all four on the floor, or if he's able, I might get a little sit from him. But if sitting when you're really excited is his only option, he's probably going to be like a shaken bottle of soda and fizzling over and unable to stop the explosion. So I would highly recommend that if he is, again, struggling with certain things, think, how could I break it down? He's just going to grab a drink of water. But how could I break it down into smaller, more attainable chunks for the handsome guy? The Adaptil product, Composure. There's also another brand called Chill Out, which is like a CBD chew. Those can all be really great venues to pair when practicing. Ready? Finley. So right here, if he's a little bit unsure, I would try his name. If there's no response, I'm going to get a little closer. Finley. And I know I'm a little bit out of camera shot, so I'm just going to go bring him in. Nice. And we might go right into a little find it. Good job. So if he's a little eager beaver, I do love movement. He's like, lady, I didn't see that one. But the reason I like the movement skills is that it doesn't make your dog feel trapped when sometimes they might be in a technical sense. So your babe is stuck behind a fence, or they're in your home, or they're behind a baby gate, or they're on a leash. So for some of the babes, that can lead to a lot of feelings of trapped or frustration. So what I highly recommend for Mr. F is, even though he might be on a leash or a longer lead or behind a baby gate, you can then help him feel more comfortable. Even though he knows there's a few things going on over there, he could then instead decide to do some find-its with some movement. Then from there, let's say he's getting a little bit more comfortable. Yes, we could get that lovely sitting. You could maybe try working a little bit with eye contact, which could be look or watch me or focus. So ready? Look. And then yes, to feed the handsome guy. So eye gazing could be a great way to regain his attention on you and then go into another skill set. But nice job. But if, let's say, we're not feeding for the little glimmers of good throughout the day, your babe might be getting the exact same response for when he's being a good boy or a bad boy from our perspective. So remember, they're going to do whatever they feel brings them feelings of safety, comfort, or some sort of outlet that they find either beneficial or a way to release. So again, window shopping, as I mentioned earlier, where they're barking at the window throughout the day, they're then rehearsing, getting really good at when I bark at something, I either make that spooky thing go away and I feel better, or it gives me something to do in my day when otherwise he wouldn't know what to do with that energy. Ready? Find it. He's doing a really nice job. So I'm going to go back into working a little bit more with that loose leash walking. So we'll get his attention. So in the beginning, I use my hand as that target and I put it sort of by my hip. Yes. And I would feed him a few snacks. So again, hand is nearby. We're getting this really nice engagement. Yes. And I normally have a couple on me so that way I can get several rounds of this lovely behavior. Right here. Yes. So notice how I use my little positive interrupter. If he gets a little overwhelmed, I'm going to go back and get him. So Finley. Yeah, nice job. So as he's coming into my space, feed for that. But if he's having a harder time, add more wiggles with some distance. He's just noticing that his little lady friend next door is up and wiggling. Ready, Finley? He's like, oh, she wants to come hang out? Finley's like, I don't know what to do about it. So Finley's a little bit unsure. He's doing a couple little hellos to the fence, but he's like, that is a big lady. Yes. So obviously throughout the weeks, they are getting a little bit more comfortable with each other, but Mr. F is a little bit of a nervous guy. Ready? So even though he's able to go meet her through the fence, I don't want him to feel like he has to get stuck there. So a lot of babes, when they notice something, they don't have a hard time noticing the distraction. They have a hard time coming back from it. So the reason, ready, Finley, I keep the food going is I'm not reinforcing him for feeling nervous. I'm trying to make him feel comfortable by giving him something to do instead that normally brings him joy or a feeling of okay. So ready right here? Finley. So if I lose him, get a little closer. If, let's say, for example, he's having a harder time, notice how I try to always go back to my dog and help him through the situation. Nice. And then remember, you cannot reinforce fear. So if he is having a hard time with something and he is scared, you can always go and soothe him or regain his attention and give him things he does enjoy to help bring him back to feeling comfortable. Nice. He says, gosh darn it, I keep dropping all these lovely stinky snacks. Ready? So if I lose him, my little positive interrupter, ready, Finley. And then we want to bring him into the front. So front, again, I know we were working this with a few of the other beauties. Front is a great way to hone him in and feed him for being in front of your body. And you could regain his focus from here and then go into another skill set. So right here, we're going to go into another little find it. But he's really doing a very good job bouncing from the distractions. So we'll give Mr. F a little breather from some of these skills, and we'll work a little bit more in just a second or two. But he's doing a very nice job, and this is only day number 3 for him.